Why, my wife and I have been together for over 7 years. 7 years of shared dreams, laughter, and the occasional argument about who left the dishes in the sink. But lately, I sensed something wasn't right. Every evening she came home from work looking drained, always too tired for intimacy or even simple conversation. "It's hectic at work," she'd say, brushing off my attempts to connect. "We know how it is, new project. Boss is stirring things up." But something wasn't adding up. A gut feeling, intuition, whatever you want to call it. So I did a little digging. Turns out that every day she left for work 30 minutes later than her coworkers. I know Sherlock, of course. But when your wife's overtime isn't reflected in her paycheck and her fatigue doesn't match her official work hours, questions arise. I thought about it and decided to talk to her boss. But I was afraid of ruining her job. I took a bold step and approached my wife's supervisor himself. I was sure that my humble wife would be able to do it herself. I wanted answers and felt that a direct conversation with him could shed some light on the situation. I walked into his office and, after introducing myself, asked for a few minutes. He was a little taken aback but agreed. In the privacy of his office, I outlined my concerns, trying to keep my emotions in check. After a moment's silence, he literally straightened up and said, "Yes, we had an intimate relationship after work." The weight of his confession hit me like the impact of a brick. But before I could react, he quickly added, "But it was mutual. She never resisted and offered on her own." Her wife told me the sad story of her separation from her husband. According to her, her husband had already managed to get another woman. From what I heard, I was so angry and shocked that I left his office and went straight home to talk to my wife. When I recounted this conversation with her supervisor, she became hysterical. Her tears, she admitted to the liaisons, but insisted that she felt compelled. She described how he had cornered her, how he used his position of power, and how she felt trapped, fearing for her job and our existence. This revelation left me confused. I believed her and thought what a scumbag her boss was. He had lied to me so sincerely. I cared deeply for her. My first priority is to support my wife and keep her safe. Despite the pain and confusion, I needed clarity, and I was determined to get to the bottom of things. Consumed by anger and a desperate need to know the truth, I found myself back at my wife's workplace, standing outside her supervisor's office. I demanded answers, a clear and unequivocal account of what had happened between him and my wife. He repeated the same story as before, but this time, sensing my skepticism, offered something more concrete: surveillance footage. I hesitated, but I needed to see for myself. The footage clearly showed my wife and her boss being intimate on multiple occasions, and contrary to her claims, consensual. I realized that the woman I loved and trusted had not only betrayed me, but had tried to make herself look like a victim. The pain of betrayal was one thing, but the extra layer of deception was too much. I made the heartbreaking decision to walk away from her. Trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to rebuild, especially when built on a foundation of lies. 2 months later, we divorced my wife, and her boss kicked her out of work the day after we talked to him.